Hello and welcome to the studio at African Utility Week here at Angerati. I'm now joined by Alain from Ernst & Young. And Ernst & Young have literally, you've just launched a new report into this market. First time anybody else has seen it was yesterday. And we are privileged to do the first sort of video interview on it. So that's a scoop. First one in Angerati's brief history.
Fantastic.
So hopefully we get many more. So tell us, give us a bit of a context about where the report was, and then we can go into some of
so the launch, yes, you're right. We launched it officially yesterday in Africa with 20 plus chief exec of energy companies in Africa. So from South Africa, Kenya, Namibia, I hope I won't insult anyone and missed anyone, Rwanda, and every part of the country. So it was in the boardroom and I was well received by the South African utility leaders. 4 themes are in our report. We can go into detail, but the 4 main themes is one around economic volatility. We know we are in crisis since 2007, 2008. The lack of capital and the cost of capital being the big issue. And when you know we've got trillions of dollars of investment that need to be done into the industry, the cost of capital is and accessibility to capital is a big issue. The second is the volatility of the commodity prices. The impact of gas and shale gas in the US and the disconnection between the cost of gas and the cost of petrol create a volatility of the commodity, which is an issue for the buyers and the sellers. So that's the first theme. The second theme is around compliance and stakeholder confidence. So despite the fact that energy, as you know, is unregulated and going into unregulated market or towards competition, there's still a high level of regulation and more regulation. And for utility companies, it is a major risk to comply with that regulation. The third theme is around business model evolution. So from traditional utility companies who are selling commodity to consumers, there is a shift towards more complex business model and bringing along the people in the organization toward that shift. So the illustration, for example, would be large organization trying to bring new kind of resources from the Procter & Gamble of this world or the financial sectors to combine that kind of capability to develop these new business models.
Okay, when you say new business model, actually, let's do the fourth one.
And the fourth one is the operational challenges. Again, trillions of dollars in the industry, in capacity, in network, investment in the capacity in the network. And you need to be able to deliver these programs, these projects with a good return, on time, and with a quality level. For that's massive challenges to be sure you've got the right talent, not only the right leaders and the right investment, we need the right talent in order to run these programs. So that's the 4 themes we're having.
I understood. So I think one of the ones that's interesting is around the new business models. And is that predominantly like in developed sort of markets, or is it new business models, challenges? Is there some sort of split there?
Okay, I think it's true in both markets, in mature markets as in emerging markets. So in mature markets, the shift is very much where do I want to play in the value chain from generation, transmission, distribution, and retail? And if I want to stay in the retail, what do I want to offer to my clients? Is it sufficient to offer the commodity? And clearly the debate is moved on from, no, it's not sufficient. There's a huge opportunity to offer more than just the commodity and to offer services to the clients.
So services like sort of things like telecare, telehealth.
If we go to the extreme, it goes as far as that, yes. Yeah. There's stuff which are more closer to your core business, but indeed there are some large companies who are thinking, yes, if I build an infrastructure in the home, a telecommunication infrastructure for smart metering, which is secured, which is live and working 100% of the time, I can carry some very important data or measurement around telehealth. Absolutely.
Personal safety,
that
sort of stuff.
Exactly. So that's more for the mature markets. I'm not suggesting in any way would go for the emerging. But in the emerging market, it's more, the transformation is, yes, you need to do more than just capacity, creation of capacity. You need to offer you're starting to build that relationship with the customer.
And did you find any surprises? Did you go, well, that's really innovative? We haven't seen that in terms of, because what you're talking about is bundling of services, a bit like what happened in telecoms.
Absolutely.
The first thing was sticking a wire. Now suddenly it's movies, films, all that stuff going down there. What's the most innovative or out there type of bundle you've seen?
I think it's not very innovative. The industry is not the most innovative industry, but there are some innovators. I think they are around tariff. I think you start seeing companies offering free energy on a Saturday, free energy on a Sunday. In
Really?
US, absolutely, yes, it's happening.
And why would they do that? What they're trying to achieve?
Because they find that their customer base, some of the segments, are very receptive to that because they're at home on the weekend and never use energy during the rest of the week. So they want to attract, and the energy is cheaper, to produce. Well, not cheaper to produce. There's less demand if you are in a region where you get a lot of industry.
Demand.
Exactly,
And
exactly.
sort of
So you
stuff,
can balance your book better. And if you want that population, that segment of the population, which are rich because they're all working on during the week and consume during the weekend, and they pay the bill and they likely to buy other services, you offer them a service free for the weekend.
It's like what's it? BT bundling the Premier League free into their thing.
Exactly.
It's a similar thing. So that's really sort of pricing and being sort of agile on that side of things. In the other four, was there anything else that? Because there's always, when you do this exercise and you do a report, there's always one thing that you find where you go, that's new, or that surprised me, or something like that. Is there anything like that? I mean, I accept that this is quite, in a way, quite a stable industry. So
okay, there are two things which are, if I may, two things which are surprising by their absence, more than by the comments. I was surprised that risk number 11 and risk number 15, which haven't made the cut, if you want. One is around security, and one is around data. So, we know security of distribution network, security of the data flow across, we're starting to implement in the mature market some technology which, without scaremongering everyone and scaring everyone, you could believe that a hacker could come in and switch off an entire city via the smart meters.
Because you're now connecting SCADA networks in with everything else, theoretically anyway.
Theoretically,
I'm sure there are firewalls in place.
Exactly. So I think there are some push to improve the security, but I was surprised that utility leaders have not come through with that as a risk. It is not part of the top 10. But
it's boring. No one likes talking about it.
Yeah, but I can tell you, if the problem come along.
But it's the same in the IT world where I come from. Everybody says, oh, yeah, it's about security. But no one really wants to get together and talk about it. They kind of say, well, it's just one of those things I have to do. I'm more excited about putting in the network.
I mean, maybe to illustrate that even more my point why it was surprising, because we're having board discussion on security. So I couldn't reflect why we're having that kind of discussion with board members on security, and we feel their concern, and you can find that in the report. So there's a bit of a disconnection in that.
That is a disconnect.
Yeah.
So,
and the second point was, as I said, around data. We are, I believe, at the beginning of a revolution here, because data will come from smart meters, from more social media, where utility companies, the more leading utility companies are going into that world. You can combine that, have a much better understanding of your clients. And again, I think the utility companies are a bit behind. They haven't yet jumped into that world.
Well, there are all sorts of joins there as well, because I mean, there's some incredibly interesting stuff being done on data and big data and colliding weather patterns with social media stuff, and I know that Disney are using it to be more predictive about attendance to cinemas and stuff like that. So when you look at some of those things. You're right. It is surprising that this industry isn't, especially around demand response and everything, because you would imagine that if you, I mean, I'm sure it's, you know, you need some quite sophisticated stuff, but I would imagine that you could monitor social media traffic and use that to predict whether the demand's going to peak or trough or something.
Yes, that's. I mean, there are two aspects in the data. There is indeed your management of your generation and distribution network. And there is an aspect also better understanding of your clients or your customers and what they want. So you know, and you know, if you respond to what they need, obviously you've got an improvement of your revenue. But the surprise again is why utility are not doing it. So what is the risk for them of not tackling the problem now?
Do you think they're filing it under too difficult right now? They've got a bunch of other stuff which they need to connect first.
That's fair. Yeah. You could say, you know, gender is pretty busy.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to do.
And then this thing where you look at it and you're like going, gosh, this new skill sets, new but in there, is there also then, and this is going off on a tangent, is there an opportunity for companies that could say, oh, look, we'll do all this work for you, and we'll offer it to you on a cloud-based model. You just have to, you know, give us the data, you know, take away personal information.
That's how the retail business started. Indeed, it was taken away from them, and they delivered very well for the Tesco in UK or in other part of the world. That's the opportunity potentially. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And in terms of your report, because we're coming unfortunately towards the end of this interview, what are some of the other things that you want to highlight out of it? And because we've touched on the 4 points and some of the key interesting areas, I'll give you one more thing that you need to talk about.
I'm going to talk about the AAA then. The AAA for energy. So, you know, we know how difficult it is to get the AAA in the financial sectors. The AAA for energy is affordability, availability, and acceptability. So availability, you need to create the capacity being in every type of market for many reasons, as we know. The affordability is the crucial one. You know, if we can't afford, consumers are going to really be against the utility company. Is going to be, you know, we've seen demonstration in some countries because the price of utility is too high. And the acceptability, you know, the necessary challenge of climate change and addressing it with new energy generation. So that's for me. That's is balancing that trilemma. Achieving the AAA is the what we've seen to that report.
Well, climate change is an important one. I think this week it was reported we passed the 400 parts per million of CO2 gas emission in the atmosphere. So that's a bit of a landmark for us, and maybe also again puts all of this into focus. We're here at African Utility Week, so my final question has got to be, and it's kind of great to have you as a sort of analyst perspective as the last interview, because you could give it a wrap, you know, almost. Yeah, you've been around the show, you've looked at a lot of things. If I could turn you into a reporter for 2 seconds and I give you a minute and a half, what's the thing that you're going, that was great, I'm glad I saw that, or I'm a bit disappointed we're still talking about that and we haven't moved on? So your 1.5 minutes as a reporter starts now.
Welcome to Africa. Yes. The very, very positive message is you see leaders of Africa utilities who understand the challenge of the continent. They know they need to invest. They're ready to do it. They've got the ability to do it. Is how to convince the rest of the world to put the money into that. You know, you need lots of capital. It can be local capital, don't get me wrong, but supported by global investors and not at a premium. So you get a lot of the utility companies complaining, you know, why do we need to have a premium in investment in Africa? You know, it's more, I'm not saying every country in Africa is stable and right and they have all the right conditions, but there are enough countries who have the right conditions for global investors. And we've seen that. So, you know, we've got 3,000 people more here. with great invention. Yeah, you could be anywhere in the world. You're not in Africa, you know, or not the image that people would have in the Western world about Africa. It could be anywhere in the world.
It doesn't feel like it at all.
Exactly. And so a bit more money, the people are there, they're ready, the need is there, access to electricity is the base for development of the continent. And the leaders are there to make it happen. So I came here with great hope, and I will come back next year, first of all, and two, very, very positive message.
Well, that's a great wrap and a great observation, and you get the job as the reporter, by
Fantastic,
the way.
thank you.
Well done. So I thank you for watching this, and Alain's colleague is going to talk a little bit more about the report findings, about how it affects the local region here. So do look that video up on njirati.com as well. And as ever, there's lots of presentations from this event available on demand. And thank you for watching.